Hi, I'm Graham from Access Inc. and today we're going to be looking at Ovo Energy. So the Ovo website is pretty good for accessibility, but there are a few common issues that I want to point out. One of the things it does get right is a very simple menu. We've seen very complicated menus on some of the other sites, particularly EDF Energy. With a simple menu system like this, it's hard to get it wrong. So we'll just tab through that. We see a skip to content link there, which is always good to see. And then we start tabbing through the main menu items. They're all top level. There's no drop down menus here, so that's easy to work with. And then we get to the search button. And if I click that, we get the search panel open. Now, ideally, we'd like to see ourselves right in the search field so we can start typing our search straight away. What happens here is that the focus is lost. It goes to the top of the page. It hasn't been managed. And then when we start using the tab key again to try and get back into the search, there's quite a few tabs before we get there. All that needs to happen here is that when a user presses the search button, their focus goes to the search box. Below the menu, there's a green notification band, and one of the issues here is that it's got a close buttons, but we can't reach it with a keyboard. Now, this isn't a huge issue in terms of usability because it doesn't really affect me that much. I can leave it open, but I just want to point out that there is a button there that you can't close. If we scroll down the page a little bit, we get to this postcode field. Now, this postcode field has an invisible label and it has a placeholder. So if I click in here and start typing, you see that placeholder disappears and it's replaced with the text that I start to type. What you'll notice now is that field no longer has a placeholder. It no longer describes what this field does. Form fields do need a visible label, and this is a requirement of WCAG. Next, I wanted to run this page through an automated testing tool just to see what it would pick up. I'm going to be using WebInWave, which is probably my favorite accessibility testing tool. Let's start that up, and it's picked up 2 errors. So if we open the details on the details panel, we can see that there's one empty heading. So the empty heading issue is here. It's just above the get beyond the first ever energy savings account heading. And we can click on this icon and we can see that there's a heading, empty heading there, which means it's a heading tag, but there's nothing to read inside it. And these should be removed because headings are an important navigation feature for assistive technology users like screen reader users. The next thing that is picked up is a broken skip link. So if we try and click this link, we actually see that it works. So we've got an issue here where Wave is reporting a broken skip link, but that skip link seems to be working fine. I might be missing something here. In a previous video, I pointed out that accessibility testing tools are particularly bad at spotting color contrast issues. And that's because sometimes they point out color contrast issues that don't exist, and other times they completely miss them. So one of the color contrast issues that Wave has picked up can be found here. So if I click this, it tells us that there's a very low contrast of 3.38 to 1 for this particular text. This isn't a failure because this text is of a certain size. The requirement for this text would be 3 to 1 instead of 4.5 to 1. So this text passes. No, it doesn't. Because what I seem to have missed is this tiny little 3 here. And this text is small enough that it does need to have the 4.5 to 1 color contrast ratio. So this text should be a darker color. So staying with color contrast, the last thing I want to look at is the footer links. The footer links are made from very small text. It is white text on a green background. And when we look at what Wave has measured these at, it's very low contrast, 4.3 to 1. Now, if you were to darken the background green, it would probably be imperceptible to most people. I'd say it probably doesn't make the difference between it being accessible or not accessible. However, WCAG requires 4.5 to 1 for text, so if you're aiming for WCAG conformance, this isn't going to meet it. If your organization is currently looking at branding and brand colors, make sure that your colors meet the color contrast requirements. Take a look at the WCAG guidelines for more details. In addition to text, you'll also need a color contrast ratio of 3 to 1 for borders, form fields, or edges of things that are important, like, I don't know, icons and buttons. It's worth noting that with all these videos, these aren't comprehensive accessibility tests. This is just me spending about 20 minutes looking for some key issues on the page. If you want to see more videos like this, please remember to like and subscribe. It helps a lot.